Hi. Before we begin the class in earnest, I wanted to go over the syllabus and some things that I didn't have a chance to talk about when we met last Monday. And so I'd like to take a few minutes just to go over and make sure that you're on board and you don't have any questions about the syllabus. You may, and well, I'll talk about that at the end. The course description is a little bit different. Usually when I teach global media communication, it's to a class full of communication students or people closely related to the area, and we talk specifically about global media issues. We talk about the theories of communication, communication flow, which we will talk about a little bit in this class. We get into aspects of censorship, media ownership, cultural influence, and many other areas. I don't want to go in so much because there are other areas that we need to cover and we have so very little time. We are going to talk a little bit about some of those communication issues, however. I do have some communication students in this class. There are also political science students, and there are international relations students and people who are interested in these aspects. And communication is important in all of those areas. And as we get into the class a little bit, I will point out some other areas that other people may want to continue looking into as regards global media issues. But I also need to talk a little bit about Oman, about some of the things that we'll encounter when we're there. And so I can't spend all of the time, which is all of 3 weeks, I can't spend all of that time talking specifically about communication issues. We'll touch on them and then we'll move on to some other areas. So the content of the course is a little bit different from what I usually do. I have 7 course objectives, and the important thing to realize is this: is that we will cover some of these in these next 3 weeks. Some of them we won't be able to do until we actually get into Oman. So these 7 course objectives carry over into our trip, and it's important for you to number one, to realize that, but it's also important for you to be aware of them as we're there and to incorporate them, absorb them as we're traveling around and meeting people in Oman, talking to people, looking at some of the artifacts, some of the landscape and things like that. So the first one, of course, is to discuss and debate the basic theories of global mass communication. And that's a necessary part of the course. And I think it will be beneficial even as you move on in your careers. We'll also talk about, before we go, the current political situation in Oman and how it got there, some of the history of that. That's mostly next week's readings. You should be able to describe the physical features of Oman. That's something that you will see when we get there, and we will see almost all of the physical features of Oman. We will touch on the desert. We won't actually go into the empty quarter, but we will be able to see how varied the country really is. You should be able to explain the fundamental tenets and the basic beliefs of Islam. I have some readings in that and some suggested readings for people who want to delve further into Muslim culture, Muslim background. Once we're there, you should quickly pick up on what some of the culture of Oman is. I'm sure we'll have some speakers talk about that. And then I hope that we get to meet a lot of people from Oman, and I think we will. But always take an opportunity to talk to people about their country, how they feel about their country, why they feel that way. And the last part, because it is a communication course, there is a writing component to it, and that is blogging and doing a final project. Here are the books. As I say, the McPhail one is available online. It's under the course materials. I'll show that all to you in a moment. The Roby book is available only in our bookstore. So if you're not here in Omaha, you need to find a way to get your hands on it. If you're in Omaha, you just walk into the bookstore downstairs and pick up a copy. The Culture Smart is available as a Kindle ebook. It is available in our bookstore. They do have it on hand, but it's also available as a Kindle ebook, which is how I have it. And that might be a handy way if you're going to take your Kindle or your Kindle app along with you to be able to refer back to it. This is the one that I think is an interesting book, The Complete Introduction to Islam. I'm not requiring it. I think it's very, very helpful to give you that background about the Muslim religion. It's fairly simplistic. There were times when I thought the person was talking down at me, but all in all, taken with that grain of salt, it's not a bad it's not a bad introduction to the fundamental some of the history of Islam, why Islam is the way it is, how it has created its various sects, and where it is today. I'm not going to go over this part. It's simply a welcome. It's a little bit of explanation. Do read it. But I'm not going to go over it right now. There are several things that we need to do before we leave. For each week's worth of questions, your assignment is to post one or two questions to the discussion board that either the reading generated in your mind or that you would like to know more about. The place to do that is on the discussion board, and I will try to answer as many of those questions as I can. Also, each week, I want you to do a little bit of research about Oman and post something that you've discovered or that you think others would be interested in. Two of those each week. So you're going to have to do a little bit of research work on your own about this. Post those and then read what other people have posted and comment on at least two of them. And don't just say, gosh, that was really interesting, or gee, I didn't know that. But something of interest for you, if you will. Once we're in Oman, you will keep a blog about your experience. You will do 2 blog posts on a WordPress account. If you don't have one, open one. Very easy to do. It's free. And think of this as kind of notes back home. When I think I mentioned last Monday, when I was in Oman, I was there for 9.5 months, and I wrote 27, 28 blogs. And it was my way, it was the only way I had of sort of sifting out the experiences, consolidating them, making them real. I did it for other people to share with me, but I really did it so that I could understand myself what I was seeing. I'm going to ask you to do 2 of them in the one each week while we're there. The final project I'll talk about in a minute. Here's the grading as it breaks down. It should be fairly self-explanatory, and then the grade that you'll get based on the points. So this first week, it's a lot of, all 3 weeks there's a lot of reading. Global Media Communication, which is the textbook, the communication textbook that's available on the Blackboard site, chapters 1 through 3, and then 4 chapters in Culture Smart. It's a lot of reading. The Culture Smart is not hard to read. It's engaging, interesting, and you'll get a lot out of it. Week 2 is the book that's available in the bookstore, Oman in the present in the context of a fractured past. So obviously it's talking about the past and what Oman is today politically. And this is a political view of Oman as it was and how it got to where it is today. The third week is an article, Lefebvre. It's not, I think it's only 11 pages. This is kind of your lightest week of reading. And Culture Smart, chapter 9 to the end, I think it's chapter 10 to skip. It's about business and it doesn't really involve us. And then also that week is What is Islam? It's a pamphlet really that's prepared by International Studies here on campus. The blog postings are important, and a good blog starts with something that gets our attention. You need to figure out what you want to say to draw the reader in, whether it's me, your parents, your siblings, your friends, classmates, or other teachers that you want to see, who you want to read this. So what you need is some sort of of interesting statement to start with. Now, the blog posts themselves can be about what you have just experienced. It can be about a specific thing. If you want to talk about the hike on Misfat Al Abreen, if you want to talk about your first experiences of landing in Oman, and what you saw when you woke up, the morning after, that's fine. The blog should be based on your experiences. It should be as factual as it could be. And facts can include the things that you're looking at right then and there. But it should be facts and then laced with your own impressions, interpretations, or opinions. And it should bring us as a reader along with you as you walk through this 2-week journey that we'll be on. Where a lot of people fail is to actually bring us along as readers through the use of transition words, although, then, on the other hand, and holding our interest, and then some sort of good wrap up at the end. And you don't have to say in conclusion or to wrap it up. The paragraph will become obvious in the way that you have framed the final paragraph, or the way that you're going to leave us, that you are wrapping up your thoughts. And I think 5 or 6 paragraphs is a good blog post. It doesn't have to be any longer than that. Really good ones, if they're really well written, are maybe 3 paragraphs. But I think 5 paragraphs is a good average to shoot for. The due dates I have now listed. I didn't have them when I talked to you at the orientation session. So very, very early, Vandra and Angela, and yes, I am picking on you, just because you have some of the background. The next day, Andrew, Anna, and Brandon. Shannon, Katie, John, Brittany, Lourdes, and Diana. And then the final for the first week is Sorsha, Taylor, and James. And then the same schedule follows on. And so Vandra and Angela start us off, but Sorsha, Taylor, and James. Sorsha, you and Taylor and James all will wrap up. And again, it can be about a specific thing, or it can be kind of the wrap up, how you feel on the last day before we leave. We leave August 7th, and so you're wrapping things up with us. Your final project, I was going to make just make you do a PowerPoint, but I'm not going to do that. And in lieu of further explanation, I think I'm going to do this in person rather than through this, just so that I can get to a couple of other things and explain a little bit better. Here is, if you go down, this is our Blackboard page, and if you go down to course materials, you will see everything that you need: the syllabus, the airline itinerary as it stands, and it's also flight itinerary, all of the readings, and this is where you'll find the McPhail, the What is Islam, the Shia in Islam, and a number of readings that aren't on the syllabus, but I think will be very, very helpful to you. Back on the syllabus, one final thing. If you have any questions at all about any of this, my office is in 204A CPAX if you're on campus here. My phone number in my office, and my cell phone number, as well as my email address. Feel free to call with questions about the syllabus, about the assignments, about Oman, about travel, about anything that you have a question about. I want this to be a great experience. I want us to have a lot of fun. I wish we could get to know each other by sitting in the classrooms with each other. It's not possible because of the nature of the class, but the more we can do together, the more fun that we're going to have. So please, if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, if you have something that you think would be of interest to the rest of the group, let me know. Give me a call, and if it's something that everybody needs to know, I will send a blast out. I look forward to working with you.